Well, hello YouTube, it's me, Fortmaster, and welcome back to the Vivat Veritas reaction, and I haven't watched one of their videos in a while since they did their, Deltarune December thing going on there. But with chapters 3 and 4 of Deltarune finally coming out, they've put out a new video called Deltarune, The Place Where It Rained, which, oh god, I mean, the fact... if there already weren't enough connections between Undertale and Deltarune, the fact they literally have that song, The Place Where It Rained, I mean, that has to mean something. It honestly does. I'm just upset with myself that I'm not smart enough to think of a reason for what it could mean. Unless it's just another bit of proof for the, oh, Sans is from Deltarune train, so... God. Honestly. Again, the whole thing. And again, the fact that it plays, once you've left the church and you're walking home right before you get home and see Sans dancing with Toriel. It's obviously supposed to, go over, the whole melancholy, of the whole thing. Chapter 4, again, gameplay-wise, and for the stuff that you learn in it, absolutely massive, but, I mean... Susie seeing whatever the last piece of the prophecy was, it's definitely colored and changed some things. And again, I just wonder, what is it supposed to mean? Because again, it has to symbolize or mean something. Toby wouldn't specifically make a song that pointing towards another from Undertale. I've stopped and thought a couple of times, trying to figure out what it could potentially mean besides, the whole Sans connection there. But I honestly cannot. And I mean, again, that's why I'm watching this video. Hopefully Vivat Veritas has, actually, thought of some reasons that, I have not thought of. But yeah, let's actually get into this then. So yeah, of course, as always, original videos linked in the description if you haven't seen it yet for some reason. Corner video will lead to my Let's Play of the day. And if you like this video or any other video that I make, I'd very much appreciate it if you gave the video a like and subscribe to my channel, because almost 3/4 of the people who watch me aren't subscribed to my channel. And officially, my new goal is to hopefully hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I mean, that can only be done if you guys press that button. But yeah, with all that out of the way, let's get this thing started then, shall we?
Deltarune Chapters 3 and 4 have finally been released to the hordes of patiently waiting gamers all over the cosmos, and with it holding the answers to many mysteries that the Deltarune community have been collectively agonizing over for the past few years. We will be looking at many of these over the next few months, but these are some very big picture things. Lots of opinions and theories will have to be reworked, reconsidered, and discarded entirely, so how about to start, we look at something a little more specific, something a little more personal. Remember It's Raining Somewhere Else? It's a song from Undertale featuring in the hotel scene with Sans, and it's a song that's very important to me. So important, in fact, that I made a video about it that did far better than I ever expected, and it kind of became a hallmark of my channel. So imagine my surprise when I was playing Chapter 4 and... well, you know what? I'll let past me take it from here.
Oh, yeah.
No fucking way. No fucking way. No. Welcome viewers, I'm Vivat Veritas, and suffice to say I was suitably affected by the funny little reference that Tricky Tony has decided to put into the game. Tony? And by Angel, I am determined to be the first person to make a video on this topic. The debatably new song, The Place Where It Rained, bears many similarities to my beloved It's Raining Somewhere Else, so of course I have some things to say about it. Like in the It's Raining Somewhere Else video, we'll break this up into a few parts. The context and construction of the song within Deltarune itself, why and how it connects to Undertale, and what it means for the current state of Deltarune and their characters within it. Without further ado, What the hell is this song doing in Deltarune? Join me, won't you?
Yeah, again, it has to mean something. I'm just not smart enough to figure out what that is.
Although it's pretty fresh in the mind for people at the release of this video, let's go over the basic details of the place where it rained just to be safe. At the end of chapter 4, once we're finally done with the myriads of dark worlds within the church, we step outside into hometown after the rain. It's quiet to begin with, giving us a chance to reflect. No one else is around, the town cloaked in a soft darkness, but it's not ominous like the billowing clouds of the dark worlds that evoke danger. The weight of everything that happened, the victory and its cost, and the information that we and Susie now know lingers in our mind. All we hear is the dripping of rain after a storm, faintly plinking onto the ground. And then, 23 seconds into the song itself, we get the first chord. From what I can tell, it's still this...
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's the first little thing I've learned. I didn't realize it was specifically 23 seconds in. I mean, I haven't worked my way into actually just listening to the music through in the soundtrack yet. I assumed it only happened once you hit a trigger.
Same chords as It's Raining Somewhere Else, that is following C minor 7, G minor 7th, B flat minor 7th, and F minor 7th. The Place Where It Rain's introduction follows this progression, similar at first but then devolving into something different. The opening 4 chords repeat before making it to the main melody of the song, and the body, as it were, of the song doesn't follow or even include the Sans motif that is notable about It's Raining Somewhere Else. It's as if Sans has been divorced from the very essence of this song. The main melody itself skirts around the Sans leitmotif in a way that feels deliberately intentional, as if to highlight the impact of something being transformed or changed. Regardless of the meta-commentary on it, these notes and chords are designed to tug on the heartstrings. They're relaxing, but they're also wistful yet ambiguous at the same time. It's a little hard for me to pin down the key, which I'd say adds to the mystery and distance of it, though it could also just be because I'm bad at analysing music. At 2 minutes into the song, we do return to a snippet from It's Raining Somewhere Else, but I don't believe it actually shows up in Sans. In fact, from the 2-minute mark onwards, the song is almost identical, down to the oh-so-familiar bass line. It makes me think that this section of the song is the main focus, its own unique leitmotif. This motif, what I'm going to call the rain leitmotif, appears at around 1:20 in It's Raining Somewhere Else, but here it's the most complex part of the song and thus takes the focus in its own way. The fact that it's also the most familiar part of the song doesn't hurt either. The song still invokes the melancholy and familiarity of the original It's Raining Somewhere Else as well, despite lacking the Sans leitmotif that made the original so. Because it's been 10 years since Undertale, those emotions that we associate with It's Raining Somewhere Else have become undeniably intertwined with it, so much so that simply having the overall structure of it slightly changed and reworked still gives us those emotions in the place where it rained.
Like, thinking back when I played it and I first came across that, I was obviously shocked. But I mean, it was also tempered by the fact that I had a complete brain fart and couldn't actually remember what the name of the song was. But I've watched other people when they were playing and like when they first reacted to the song as it started, like it actually started, not just the rain. You just see the looks on their faces. Some of them were shocked was like the main thing, but also flabbergasted and just confusion.
It's Raining Somewhere Else has become its own commentary on nostalgia and grief, and this is perfectly shown thanks to The Place Where It Rained, a new song, but one tragically familiar. The contrast of the soft echoing piano and the sounds of the rain and wind gives the impression that the music is coming from far away, or somehow disconnected from the present moment. Even when the percussion and the very familiar bass come in, it's distant. After the rather confronting and full-on experiences we've just had in the church dark worlds, going as far to even slay a titan, this highlights the feeling of us being caught in our own heads, lost in thought all alone, still processing the various intense information and emotion we've been exposed to. There is a sense of calm, but it's not here. It's almost having a dialogue with It's Raining Somewhere Else, which has a very cozy, almost personal tone to it despite its subject matter. Despite this indeed being the place where it rained, the song is somewhere else. Something that I think is interesting, perhaps even relevant, is that once the aforementioned elements come into the song, the sound of the rain disappears. However, we are left with a harsh wind, something that's reminiscent of the wind among the city sounds of It's Raining Somewhere Else. It especially stands out at the end of the song. It doesn't naturally loop like its predecessor, instead of very much letting the wind and lack of a melody take center stage, filling us with a sense of finality. It's almost like the song itself is saying, yes, the rain is gone, but the storm isn't over yet. It has rained, and perhaps it's even raining somewhere else now, but it's not safe. We're left to confront, in relative silence, the brutal reality of the situation we find ourselves in.
Yeah, that's definitely one way of putting it. I mean, again, just going back, just, learning Susie learning the prophecy, however it ends and us not able to see it, there's always that level of tension right there. And, the fact we fought a Titan at this point in the game, at the halfway point, what are the next battles going to be like? The fact that we've already literally fought a Titan. I mean, granted, this Titan was one that was just hatched, so it could be still very young and maybe not up to full strength yet. But still, again, it's just so many questions as to what we've already done and what has yet to come in the game at the same time. Yeah, I'm happy that we're going to get the next chapter in about a year, but still, the wait is still going to suck.
Now that we understand the song in the context of Deltarune, how does this change the way we think about It's Raining Somewhere Else? It's reasonable to assume that this is indeed the somewhere else where it rained, a shot I'm happy to say I called in my original video for someone who doesn't like making theories, so the fact that this rain comes from where it does is relevant to say the least. Although most of this video is dedicated to understanding what the place where it rained means to Deltarune, it would be a bit silly to not talk about how it connects to the past. Despite lacking the original leitmotif that linked it to Sans, the place where it rained is miraculously and almost frustratingly still related to him somehow. The next event to occur after this song is us returning home to see Toriel and Sans dance.
I was literally just talking about this, right? Of course.
In the living room, in a scene I can't possibly imagine how Chris feels about. Despite this not even being his game, Sans manages to be relevant. Contrasting this with the song itself though, it's telling that the original It's Raining Somewhere Else was the backing track to Sans telling us about the first time he met Toriel. Now it's the immediate predecessor to Sans and Toriel hanging out, albeit not for the first time, but certainly the first one that we directly see that's personal. Interestingly, it's explicitly mentioned that Toriel ducked into the convenience store, meeting Sans, due to the rain. Clearly there's something about Sans' connection with Toriel that is not only important to him, but to the games as a whole, which makes sense. For both Frisk and Chris, Sans' relationship with Toriel is important, though maybe not in the same way. It saves Frisk's life, and it's a little early to tell what exactly it means for Chris, but it's certainly disrupting the status quo. At the very least, Asgore isn't going to be too happy about it.
I mean, again, there also was the whole thing where this scene did point out that, Toriel isn't the perfect mother that the community kind of painted her as. Because, while, she is technically divorced and stuff like that, at the same time, as I saw somebody point out, Toriel, her child was out for, hours when, literally the day after the tires of her car were slashed. And on top of all of that, she's at home getting drunk with a guy she's known for a couple of days. Again, with that whole thing that her child is out very late. Now, granted, we know that, just from, context clues and what people have said, the town already knows that Chris is, the weird kid. But at the same time, after, again, the whole tire slashing incident, you'd think Toriel would be on higher alert.
However, it's even more expensive than that. Both It's Raining Somewhere Else and The Place Where It Rained gain this metatextual connection to the idea of, well, connection, of relationships. Sans understands that having genuine friendships and relationships can make the apathy and hopelessness abate, if not to disappear entirely. It's saying that we live for other people, not just ourselves, and although in Undertale Sans considers himself past this, maybe it's not too late in Deltarune. The main kind of thesis of my video about It's Raining Somewhere Else was that it played on two main emotions, nostalgia and melancholy. These were Sans' own emotions, and the music attempted to elicit them in us. However, The Place Where It Rained doesn't have that connection to Sans, unless we're using transitive properties with the rain leitmotif, and I don't think that's enough.
Yeah.
However, it is still undeniably connected to him, and it is still very nostalgic and melancholic. To understand this connection properly, we have to ask a slightly more specific question. What does Deltarune being the place where it rained mean for Undertale and It's Raining Somewhere Else? The impact of It's Raining Somewhere Else and the conversation around it relies on the fact that Sans is wistful for a place he was once in, a place we now know is hometown. Sans wants to come back to this small town we know, which kind of recontextualizes his presence here. Although it doesn't seem he's from here either, as he and Papyrus only recently moved, there's something about living here that he enjoys. Maybe it's the people, maybe it's the relaxation of it, or maybe it's the freedom, the ability to do what he wants, go where he wants. He misses hometown for whatever reason. The simplicity of it all is alluring, especially compared to Undertale.
And again, that whole just raises so many questions, like what happened that, Sans had to leave his dimension to go to Undertale. And what does that mean for Deltarune's story?
It doesn't have to worry about murderous humans or underground imprisonment or tracking space-time anomalies. Although it's difficult to tell how aware he is of the wider scope of Deltarune, I would wager he's rather aware indeed, he at least doesn't need to deal with it. Maybe he even knows that with his classic meta-narrative awareness. The prophecy doesn't mention any skeletons, after all.
I mean, you never know. There were portions of the prophecy we weren't told, like specifically, the one with Lancer. You never know. Sans might literally appear at some point in the prophecy. We just haven't seen that part yet.
Sans' importance in Deltarune remains to be seen, but thanks to the place where it rained, we at least know that Sans is more comfortable here, and is in a place where he can still have a level of hope that has been taken away in Undertale. Let's get our minds back to the present now. Talking about Undertale is all well and good, but this is Deltarune Chapter 4 we're talking about. The halfway mark has been attained, and it's important to consider what this moment, song, and situation mean for the rest of Deltarune itself. With The Place Where It Rained, we have a very clear lull in action. As mentioned before, it's a moment of reflection, of thought, and of relative calm. This song acts as a backdrop for not only us as players, but also Chris and Susie as characters, and gives everyone a moment to slow down and process what has just happened. In this way, it's different to chapters 1 and 2, where the post-Dark World romp around hometown is much more upbeat and cheerful, getting to see the town lively and full. Here, it's much more somber.
That's the whole thing. In chapter 4, there is the whole thing where you have that massive section in the light world before you get to the dark world after church. So I guess, that whole thing, after you leave the church, and the inability to go back to the dark world, like the castle town dark world, and just see all the people you've recruited and helped and stuff like that, and talk to them. There's definitely something missing there. You walking through the cold, wet, nighttime town, it just feels like there's something very big missing there.
The rain has washed the sun away, and instead we're left to wander a quiet, empty town. This song, and rain in general, is being used as something that refreshes, yet brings with it a poignant melancholy that is felt not just by us, but by the characters too. Interestingly, rain comes up a couple of times within Chapter 4 that I feel like stand out, and although they might not be directly connected to the piece of music, I think it gives a bigger picture of the importance of rain in Deltarune and what it means for the story. Of course, the most notable is the actual rain in
Yeah, literal
Hometown.
rain, yeah.
The rain begins once Chris and Susie leave Noelle's house after the carol horrors and lasts until the church dark world has been entered. Things aren't as obviously worrying as they are when the actual place where it rains song plays, but it's still quite lonely. Everywhere is closed or full and you're stranded outside, walking around in the rain. In this situation, both Chris and Susie have had their own battles, as it were. Chris against us, the soul, and Susie against Carol, in her own way. All of us in this situation have faced some kind of difficulty, some obstacle, but this moment of rain refreshes us, giving us a chance to compose ourselves and try again. It lets us bask in the knowledge we've attained and reckon with the path forward, unpredictable in the clarity of renewal. The rain also returns once we relinquish control of Chris at the end of the chapter and Susie walks home, which works in a similar way. It's the rain coming down to refresh the world, giving us a blank slate for us to act on now that we've concluded our trials and tribulations. We do get a mention of rain before this though, while Hometown is still sunny and cheerful. You might even consider it foreshadowing if you're that way inclined.
Oh right, yeah, the whole with Susie talking about when she first met Toriel on the bench, right?
If you choose to have the hot chocolate in QC's diner with Susie, you get an adorable little cutscene with Chris and Susie drawing little things on the fogged up glass. Susie finishes with saying, "And then the rain fell down and washed everything away," which I don't think it means too much within the moment itself, but is congruent with our understanding of rain's purpose in the meta-narrative of Deltarune. That is, as a refreshing, melancholic force in line with the tone of the place where it rained. I hesitate to reason the importance of this one, but I'm gonna mention it anyway. Rain is a focal point of the Pluie mini-game, a joke I still don't fully understand, but have to acknowledge the existence of. Please don't try to explain it to me in the comments. It's deep in the castle town and only accessible after the mic battle, but it's not particularly complex. It's mostly a mini-game where you have to protect cats from the rain, and sometimes they rain as well. What does this mean exactly? Well, the best I can do here is that it's confusing and related to mystery, which is somewhat in line with what we know. Angel help anyone who tries to understand the mic stuff in chapter 4.
I mean, granted, from what I've seen, I haven't gotten it myself, unfortunately, yet. But I mean, from everything I've seen, it very much seems like, at least with the Green Pippin's mic, I think that's very much, poking fun at theorists just in general.
Finally, although it isn't directly tied to the song or situation we find ourselves in, I'd like to talk about the existence of, he's just referred to as the old man,
Gerson,
but I feel
yeah.
pretty safe calling him Gerson. Before we get into the meat and potatoes, it'd feel weird to not mention a fun Gerson oddity. Gerson does seem to mention the old song from the sea, a song that, like It's Raining Somewhere Else, is solidly connected to Waterfall, much like Gerson himself. He seems to imply that he's making the song itself, and then the battle begins. And what do we happen to see in the window behind him?
A giant
rain.
Hammer. Oh, rain. Okay,
I'm
never
hesitant to make any sweeping judgments on something that likely isn't very important, like I did before and no one cared about. I wouldn't be surprised to hear the rain leitmotif in the old song by the sea if it does ever come up. Outside of this, there's a lot to say about Gerson and the impact he has both on the story and the characters, but I want to talk about the way he talks about destiny. Gerson talks to Susie quite a bit, especially highlighting the idea that nothing is set in stone and everything can be changed, whether that's by the power of hope or by writing something new. I think it's difficult to understate how important these conversations are to understand the overall themes of Deltarune, but for now we'll put it on the back burner. What I want to highlight is that through a combination of this as well as Susie finding the ending of the prophecy, we leave the Dark Fountain with this thought process, this ideology of
things
change
can
and
be
hope
changed
in our heads despite the desperate and dark situation we find ourselves in. When we hear those opening notes of the place where it rained, we're immediately brought back to that moment with Sans in Undertale, music and all. The song, which revolves around Sans' melancholy, despair, and acceptance, intertwines with his words about giving up. Despite this, he still talks about the love that other people have for you, perhaps subtly indicating why you shouldn't give up like him. It's not guaranteed that you have these emotions or memories, of course. I'm sure there are a lot of people who are playing Deltarune who haven't played or don't remember Undertale. Saying that, it's definitely an intentional play on Toby Fox's behalf.
Oh, obviously.
We're immediately
Obviously.
filled with these same emotions of melancholy and nostalgia, and those who are familiar gain an extra insight into the way that the characters, and perhaps Hometown as a whole, are feeling. However, we don't get everything we expect in this song. Although we would expect to hear Sans' leitmotif in the song like the original, it's absent. This ties back to what Gerson was talking about. The power of hope is a direct contrast to the main emotional cocktail of It's Raining Somewhere Else. That is, the nostalgia and resignation that Sans has regarding his current predicament. He's given up. However, for whatever reason, we haven't given up. We are still fighting, still kicking, and still intent on changing expectations. That's why Sans' leitmotif is absent. Even though he's given up in Undertale, accepting his place and the life he has, whether stuck in the underground or stuck in Undertale itself, with It's Raining Somewhere Else, the place where it rained doesn't have that cynicism, whether that's a commentary on Sans' character or the state of the game itself. Deltarune is about seeing the path that you're on, your fate if you will, and saying no to it. Like Gerson says, we're making something new, giving a remix to what we've come to expect, and thus changing fate.
So what does that mean for what's to come? Because again, we have no idea how the prophecy actually ends. Again, Susie broke that portion of the panel before we could see it. So, the idea that something will have to change, or something can be changed, and yet Sans still ends up in Undertale. I mean, I jokingly said that, you know, whatever the weird machine in Sans' basement was, it was like some sort of like lifeboat or something, and maybe Sans and Papyrus jumped in it and left before too early, before they saw that, you know, Chris and the others were actually going to save the day or something. If that was the case, God, that would be so depressing. Because that would either mean that either Sans eventually does find out that, you know, his old home was saved, but he can't go back, or he never actually finds out it was saved in the first place and he thinks it was destroyed.
Our expectations of what lies ahead, whether that's a story or a song, can always be changed if we don't lose sight of what we want. Toby has played a lot with subverting expectations from Undertale, and this is the cherry on top of linking that idea to the concept of actionable change. Even if there's something we expect to happen, narratively or meta-narratively, all that matters is that we're still looking at the future with hope, no matter how naive.
Hopefully,
that's what I believe the place where it rained is telling us. Things are pretty bad now, with Undyne missing, the night still looming, and not being any closer to opening the bunker. However, the rain brings with it a sense of renewal, a blank canvas for us to write on with our pen or hairbrush of hope. It's melancholic, quiet, and meditative, and knowing it's raining somewhere else accentuates these emotions. It makes us think of our journey ahead, look back on where we've come from, and reckon with the fact that it's only going to get harder from here. We ruminate on the connections we've made, the friendships we've forged through mercy and hope, and that's the world we fight for. Even if there is only one ending, it's our choices along the way that matter. It's choices, the choice of connection, that gives us hope. A story can be retold, and a song can be rewritten. It doesn't matter if you knew the original notes. All that matters is what is now. The tides of darkness are coming, the rain coming down to wash everything away. In the place where it rained, what can you create with your hope? I hope you all enjoyed that journey into the rain with me. I think the idea of subverting expectations equals changing fate is very potent, and I'm excited to see where it goes from here. I knew as soon as I heard that first familiar chord that there was a lot to unpack here. I'm excited to see what everyone else thinks of these ideas. I will say, out of all my videos, I'm surprised it was the It's Raining Somewhere Else one that got the most attention post chapters 3 and 4, but hey, I'm not complaining. Hopefully you all consider this a worthy successor to that video that's very close to my heart. I know I do. In terms of the future of this channel post new chapters, I've got a bit of a plan. My currently written Gaster video will need some retooling, and I'm going to add an extra part to the Fate theory that'll go over any changes or addendums that I feel are necessary. After that, we'll proceed as planned with the final meaty part of the Fate theory, and who knows what else. I've got some ideas, as you can imagine, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Here we go.
Thank you as always to my wonderful patrons Michael Bates, Meggie, Zalgo, Tybee Fitzhugh, Visible and Nigel Robinson for your continued support. It really does mean a lot. It's a good time to join the Patreon as well, as I'll definitely be actually making content consistently again. Hopefully. I always love reading everyone's comments. So.
I mean, at the beginning of the game, it was when we first played Undertale, I remember, everybody sort of shocked or, funny reacting to Sans and the possibility of seeing Papyrus again, the Bone Trussel leaving the door and stuff like that. But everything, oh, Susie's not the girl from the prophecy, or all the evidence, basically proof at this point that's piling up saying, oh, Sans was definitely from Deltarune and then went to Undertale somehow. And all of that kind of is showing that oh, Sans is important to the story, but we just have no idea how yet. It's absolutely killing me. It really is. Oh, God. But yeah, that's definitely going to be it for now. So yeah, I hope you guys liked. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if not, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.